Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Flight Training the Way I See It, News, Training, and Opinion with your host, Mike Shiflett. So, got a few things to tell you today. Number one, as we go through what we're going to be talking about for the podcast, this one should be about 20 minutes long. Examiners and inspectors can perform certain activity certifications via Zoom. So that's interesting. That's been contested here recently, but we have the national policy notice that gives them permission to do that. We'll talk about what they can do. The next thing is the NAFI Summit is coming up next month. That's National Association of Flight Instructors conference. It's the second one they've had. I was to the one last year in Lakeland, Florida. This one will be at Daytona Beach, and we'll talk about that. So if you want to meet up, that's the place to do it. I'll be up there in Daytona Beach. Get her done, babe. All right. You know what they do up, that's the Daytona 500, and that's what they say come Daytona time. CFI Bootcamp, another thing is we're going to be conducting the first ever CFI Mastery Bootcamp, October the 12th and 13th. We'll talk about what that is. I think you might like that. The class is getting full. We have about, I think, 15 in that class or so, both in-person and remote. I'll talk about it here just a little bit. And winter's coming. Remember Game of Thrones? Winter's coming. Didn't know what that meant for a while. Then you say, oh, I know what's happening now. So, yeah, winter's coming. And so earlier sunset. So now it's time to get up there and get night current. We're going to talk about that a little bit and some things maybe you didn't know about night. Oh, what do you think about that? Okay, then we've got pro tips for you. 3 pro tips as usual. So without further ado, we're going to break into this thing. And I do have a update that's not in the printed newsletter, the PDF newsletter. So this came out in August, and I was not aware of it until just a few days ago. And I was at the CFI study group where I hang out on the Facebook group, and I posted the results of that to the Facebook group. And so that's a kind of an interesting thing because this memorandum that came out rescinded some letters of interpretation from the FAA. So those in particular are the ones that address that when a flight instructor is in an airplane with a student or a rated pilot, that pilot or that student pilot is not a passenger. They've rescinded that now. So yes, they are passengers now. They are passengers. So, now how long that's going to stay, I don't know, but they basically took that memorandum. There's several of them printed, but basically you can go find it. Pretty easy to find, and it tells you they rescinded those. Now, why they rescinded them was because of the language. So they're rewriting that FAR is what they're going to do. So that's out going to be in an NPRM, Notice Proposed Rulemaking, where they'll actually allow it later, but not for right now because the language is not clear. And it's unsupported in the regulation in terms of what they had interpreted on. So, yes, sometimes the FAA rescinds legal interpretations. So even though you have a collection of them, you might bring them into your DP and say, see, told you so. You got to go check for that specific one. And it's always listed by the name of the person who asked for it, or it's listed by, there'll be some identifier, and you can search for that. And then you should search and be sure that those haven't been rescinded, okay? So that's word to the wise. Okay, that's kind of that. So let's talk about what we want to talk about. So examiners and inspectors can perform certain certifications and actions using IACRA via Zoom. So the FAA issued a national policy that went out to all FSDOs and DPEs. The notice is the 8900.689, 8900.689, and it's titled In-Person Requirements and the Use of Remote Technology for Administrative Airman Certification Functions. So to summarize this, inspectors and DPEs are authorized to perform certain functions, and they can use remote technology, such as Zoom, to identify a person. They're also required to use IACRA to process any of these actions. So they have to use IACRA. Can't use paper. Now, some of the actions permitted are issuance of a ground instructor certificate. So they can do that via Zoom. Flight instructor renewals, supervised operational experience, limitation removal, SOE, and military competence. Those are the 4 things that a DPE can do if they're authorized to do it. Now, it's important to know that the DPE must be authorized to perform such actions on their letter of authorization, their LOA. So some may not be able to do these. So just so you know, so if you're trying to renew your CFI, can't get a hold of the FSDO, then you can get a hold of any DP in the country that can do it, and they can do it remotely. Now, most of our people would be interested in the flight instructor renewal and, of course, the issuance of a ground instructor certificates. That'd be interesting. And if you can get an aviation safety inspector, an ASI, at the FSDO to do this, there's no charge. If not, then you're going to have to pay something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's all between you and the DP. But all can be done via Zoom or other remote technologies. So that's out as a matter of national policy now. Good. Okay, NAFI Summit's coming up. That's our next topic. Look at that. Moving right through the podcast today. It's to me, it's the what is today? 27th of the month. So it's 27th of September while I'm doing the podcast. And CFI class for us starts up next week, Monday the 30th. We got a 7-day class going on, and then we have that mastery class, which I'm going to tell you about what that is here in just after I talk about the NAFI Summit. But NAFI Summit is the second annual one, and it's going to be happening October the 15th, 16th, and 17th. The 15th is just a reception, but I'll be there for that. Of course, if you don't know me by now, I'm there for the reception. Not necessarily for the wedding, but for the reception. There you go. And so in earnest, it'll kick off on the 16th, 17th. It's going to be at Embry-Riddle University in Daytona Beach, Florida. There is a fee to attend. It's not cheap, in the order of $300. But that it does include a keynote dinner, and it includes lunches, I think, all the way through. So the first day will be a reception, like I said. The next 2 days will include keynote speakers, panels, and expert speakers on flight training. So you can go to NAFI.net and get a lot more information. Do a Google search on NAFI Summit. The event is one of the 3 that focus on flight training. So I'm all into flight training. So the 3 there are Redbird Migration, which is going to be March through the 5th in Denver, Colorado, at the Wings Over Rockies Museum. And you can find information about Redbird Migration by probably just Googling Redbird Migration 2024. You can also go to Redbird Migration, or Redbird's site, the simulator site, and they'll give you more information there. There's no cost to attend that, or hasn't been. That's where AOPA gives their awards for excellence for flight schools and for the CFI of the Year. That happens at the dinner at Redbird Migration, so don't miss that if you can help it. And then FSANA, Flight School Association of North America, represents flight schools. That'll be February the 5th, the 7th. That's going to be at the Walt Disney World Dolphin Resort in Lake Buena Vista, Florida, basically Orlando area. Now, all those events attract the FAA, NTSB, TSA, not to chase you down, to offer up what's new, what's happening, to listen to people, see if they want to change anything, see what people complaining about, not complaining about. Of course, DP shortage comes up all the time, and they're listening to that finally, which is good. That's actually in the FAA Reauthorization Act that they have to do it. So we can talk about that another time. We have talked about it in previous podcasts, but there you go. So those are the training conferences that are around. So there's NAFI Summit, October 15 through 17 in Embry-Riddle in Daytona. There's the Redbird Migration, March the 5th through 6th in Denver, Colorado, at the Wings Over the Rockies Museum. And FSANA, Flight School Association North America Conference, that's going to be February. So February 5th through 7th at the Walt Disney World Dolphin Resort, and it's actually in the resort. It's at the resort, at the conference center there. And that's in Lake Buena Vista, which is just basically right next door to Orlando. It's where all the Disney parks are. Okay, so there's that. Now, CFI Bootcamp will attend all 3 events, and I will speak at Redbird Migration, which I usually do. I may speak at FSANA. They haven't asked me yet, but I think that I have some things that would be in line that they would want to hear. So FSANA, I'm not planning on speaking at NAFI Summit. I think the time for that's passed anyway, but I just like to attend that event. Some of them I just like to attend and not have the burden of preparing or speaking or justifying whatever I say, right? There's that. Okay, something new now. Boy, this is new for us. So we're conducting the first annual CFI Mastery Bootcamp. It's a weekend. It's Saturday, Sunday. The first one is October the 12th and the 13th. We have also one in November, and I believe one in either January or February. And they're getting kind of popular. Let me tell you why. So these mastery classes is a brand new thing for us, and it's completed on a weekend. So it teaches you how to be a better instructor by using technology in the classroom and in the airplane. So if you're struggling with or you don't know what's available in technology, this class is for you. I mean, we go through the basics of using ForeFlight, how to project to a smart TV. We go through how to use our favorite apps to make your teaching shine, because there's a lot of apps out there, and to run through them all and try to find the ones that really work, the ones that are useful, the ones that if you put them away for a while, you can still use them. Those things we've already done. And so we're installing all that stuff, helping you install all that stuff on your iPad, your phone, your laptop. Hopefully you bring a window, not a Windows machine. Remember that most stuff in aviation is going to run on the Mac platform or iOS in the airplane, so you'll probably want that anyway. But we'll cover all that on the first day, basically configuring all the technology. We'll even show you what level of subscription you need from ForeFlight, how to teach from ForeFlight, how to annotate and project on the smart TV, smart boards, that kind of thing. We have all that stuff ready to show you. And then how to use Zoom. We're going to show you how to use Zoom as a presenter. It's a little tricky to do that if you've not done it before because there's a lot more moving parts. There's a lot of things that are not on by default that we show you how to do, how to create breakout rooms for larger classrooms, to show you how to do one-to-one instruction. We show you how to share your screen, of course, and how to share multiple screens. There's just a lot in there, how to disable annotations so people don't draw on your screen. So all that's covered, and we practice all this. So in this boot camp, we're going to give the information, and then we're going to practice it. And we're going to put you in small groups, whether in person or online, and we're going to have you teach to each other so you can see that you're using the technology appropriately. You're going to project either in your house if you have a smart TV, maybe you go to a flight school, or if you're in person with us, we'll have a smart TV, at least one, there that people can project up to and learn, at least see how to do that. We'll also have 3 cameras in the classroom. So typically we have 2, a webcam, that's on me. A second one we use OWL Laboratories as a very interesting cam. It's a 360-degree view. So it takes your Zoom window or whatever you're wanting to project on. About the first 25% top of it down shows the entire classroom, 360 degrees all the way around. And then the camera technology for the OWL, it will listen, and whoever's talking, it will pan over and get that person. It doesn't have any moving parts. It's all done electronically. And if 2 people talk, it will split the screen then in 2 more. So there'll be whoever's talking and the other person. If 3 people do it, it'll do that as well. It won't do more than 3, but it really helps give a really good user experience for someone who's attending remote because you don't have to struggle like who said that. Or it also has its own camera, cameras of course. It has its own microphone and speaker built in, so we can place it in the room and you can hear the people more clearly. And we can turn that on and off. We also have another standalone webcam, which is just going to look at my screen. So everything I'm doing, you're going to be able to replicate. So because some things in Zoom are not projected along when you're projecting on a monitor, yes, but not through Zoom. Some of those controls aren't shown. And some of the things I want to show you in terms of how it physically looks like, all the moving parts, we're going to have a webcam back there. It's going to look just at that. So that should enable you to be successful. Now, on the second day, we're going to cover advanced ForeFlight functions, including navigation, and we're going to show some teaching techniques that modern educators are using that aren't currently in the Aviation Instructor's Handbook. Really effective stuff. SAFE's doing a lot of that, Side of Aviation and Flight Educators, and so we're kind of piggybacking on that a little bit. We're taking the good out of it, like Rich Stoll's 9 points to fly an airplane. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. So a lot of things that can make your teaching a lot better. We're also going to cover how to use a syllabus. We're going to give you one, and how to deliver pre-flight briefings as part of the syllabus. And take this idea that I'm just showing up for a lesson, and I have these lesson plans, but I don't know what in order to use them in, and they're too long, and they take too long to get through. Students' eyes glaze over. We're going to take care of all that. We're going to show you how to give a proper pre-flight briefing, and we're going to show you how to use a syllabus to keep everybody on track. We're going to give you one. So there you go. So the end goal for this class for you is to be able to use the iPad with ForeFlight and Zoom all together in a one-to-one or classroom setting. So you'll be able to project also your iPad screen onto a smart TV or your laptop if it's a Windows machine, and also take a person from the very first lesson to a private pilot check ride, using a roadmap, a syllabus. So you're going to walk away with modern training techniques that's going to kind of set your teaching apart from other CFIs. Now, here's the deal. This class, the first class, is October the 12th and 13th. If you want in on that class, remote or in person, listen how much. It's going to be $400. That's after the first one. The first one is $250. So 250. So you're saving $150 if you're able to attend this first class, right? So, and you get a little mini course ahead of time to make sure you have everything set up correctly and you're not struggling when you get in there. Hopefully we've got a couple extra people to help out, and we will pair you up with people who, if you're struggling with technology, we'll pair you up with people who know it very well. And then if you're not struggling with it, and then we can help give you some teaching practice and see that you're able to show other people how to do this. So anyway, this is going to be taught in person at our Miami location and online live streaming with 3 webcams. All right, so if you want more information on that, go to our website, cfibootcamp.com, and click on the calendar. And in the calendar, you'll see it. You can register for that class. And I think there's enough seats there available. We can only take about 15 really, because I think we have 10 or more. Because the reason for that is just because we want to make sure there's time enough, right? Okay, let's go to the last real topic, another good topic. It's winter is coming. Ooh, Game of Thrones again. And did you ever see that series? I mean, I watched the whole thing. I was so addicted to that. But the first one, I tried to get through it. I was like, I don't know. I felt like I got to go wash my hands, right? It's dirty, right? I got to go wash my hands. And then I went, when the next episode is? I can't know if I can wait another week to find out about that. But the good news is I didn't have to wait a week because a friend of mine told me about it when the series was basically coming to a close. And so I binge watched that thing. Let me tell you what. Anyway, winter's coming. So winter is coming. And in Florida, here in South Florida, it means our best weather of the year is coming. And we're all looking forward to that. We're looking forward to opening up our windows and letting all the must and all the stuff. We've been cooped up in the house with all the AC on, and that's not the best situation. It's okay, but it's not as good as just nice temperature outside with the air moving around. So we're going to get that. That's going to be really nice. You can tell in Miami Beach or Miami that when the winter comes, you see everybody's windows open, and everybody got a smile on their face. We can go out, sit outside now, and we're not sweating all the time. So there you go. But as autumn begins, the sunlight's slowly disappearing, right? And depending on your latitude, where you are, in the lower 48, you can expect sunset to occur between 2 and 3 minutes earlier every day until late December 21st about. That's the shortest day. Around there. Okay. Now, your recency experience requirements to carry passengers is good for 90 days. So in much of the country, in addition to losing daylight, the winter weather begins to move in, which sometimes stops us from flying or at least makes it more challenging. So trying to stay night current or get requirements in for night, now's the time. We have really, really, really good weather in autumn in most of the country. It's stable. It's not too windy. It's not too cold yet. It's still enough daylight out, so your nighttime isn't going to be at midnight, and with that in June, right, mid-June at Palo Alto, for example, we got to wait till almost 9 o'clock to leave. 3 hours across country flying with the training, 10 takeoffs, and all this stuff is like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 getting back home. You can kind of knock that stuff down now and have pretty good, reliable weather for that. Also reset your 90-day clock, which is not bad. Now, most people would not say, okay, I'll take it right up to the 89th day. Now, some do, so they don't have to spend the extra money to get a flight instructor like at Advantage. If you go 90 days, you've got to have a CFI go with you, and they'll do everything up to the 89th day. Now, are they current? Yes. Are they proficient? I don't know. So I think we should be looking for proficiency, and I think in this autumn period that's coming up to where it's going to get night a lot sooner, I think this is our time to shine. It's our time to put the polish on the night, and then when we need it in the wintertime, if we're going to go flying in the wintertime, then we'll already have built up some backlog of experience for ourselves. So that's what I would say about it. So let's do that, all right? So it's been a while. Get your local CFI and get back your night skills. Okay, pro tips. Let's look at that, and then we're going to close out. Boy, look at that. I screamed this one. Screamed to it. Now, if you want a copy of this newsletter, a PDF of it, you can go to our website, cfibootcamp.com. We've made a new layout at the top. It's easier to find things. But on the homepage, if you scroll all the way down the bottom, you'll see an opt-in email box for our newsletter. Now, I know we already know you because, obviously, You're listening to the podcast. Probably know you. Actually, we're on Spotify, Apple. We may not know you. But if you go to the bottom of our web page, which is cfibootcamp.com, cfibootcamp.com, all one word, go to the bottom, and you're going to see an opt-in for the newsletter. And then when you click onto that, submit your email, then we'll send you the newsletter every month, right? And a link to the podcast. So the video podcast. This is both a video podcast and an audio podcast that goes out. All right, so that's what you want to do. If you're looking to do CFI training, we'd love to have you. So we'd like to talk to you about that because we're getting kind of full, and in a lot of the classes, they're getting big-ish, and we make sure that have enough individual attention for people, so we have to limit the size a lot. So for those of you who are worried about, am I going to ever have a job as a, it's really funny, the people when they're younger, I paid $80,000 for making $120,000 a year first year, right? I have a guaranteed job, right? And I financed all these things. Life's not a guarantee, that's for sure. And you can pick a lot of other industries that are going to give you a lot better job security. I'm here to tell you, a lot better. Just be an engineer. You want a good job security? Go be an engineer. You're going to be fine. If one goes bust, you can go to 5,000 other firms that need engineers, right? Or go in the medical field, right? There's plenty of. Be a physician's assistant. Man, there's a job. That's a job with not as nearly as much liability as a physician, but good money, really good money. So do that. But if your passion is aviation and you want to make a career out of it, I'll tell you what the number one secret is. Number one secret is beg, steal, borrow, whatever you need to do to get to the airline as quickly as you can, because everything is predicated on seniority. That's why I didn't do it. I need conflict in my life. I have to have something. I have to have a fire to put out. I need conflict. I can't be a cog in the wheel. When an airline pilot, you're going to be the biggest cog in the wheel life has ever seen, and that may be good for you. You may like that, but my idea is we were born to create. If we're not creating, then I think we're unhappy. Now, creating for you may be flying that 777 across the north. That may be creative for you. It wouldn't be for me. But look, those guys are pulling in some serious money if you make it to the end, right? If you don't go on a medical disability, which could happen. So stop surfing, stop kite surfing, stop motorcycle riding, stop all that. Because if you go out on disability, you all for that. Don't do it. So anyway, preaching to the choir. But anyway, what happens is you got to quit when you're 65 right now. That may go up to 67, maybe. But right now it's 65. So every year you're not there, you're losing the last year captain pay. And you're not going to get it back. There's no way for you to get it back. Right now, that's currently $42,000 a month on a 777. That's $500,000 they're making, plus $100K into the 401K at United. So maybe less, but you're losing a lot. So and if you're this far along in your training where your commercial's done, I don't know, sell your soul to get the money to finish your CFI and start working. Now, I recognize you're going to say that there's no jobs for CFIs now. It's tough. Airlines aren't hiring. Yes, that's true. But as soon as they are, when you didn't get it, you didn't have it, you're going to be back in that seniority queue again. If you have it already, you can pounce, right? As soon as it opens up, you can be the one. If you're persistent enough, you'll get a job. But if you pounce on it, then you're ready to go. But if you're messing around, still thinking about doing a rating, this thing is not a small animal, And plus, who's going to do your test? I got people all the time saying, "Can you please give us a DP?" I say no, and I'll come and do 5 hours of flight training with you. We don't care about that. You're going to do the full program because we're not going to waste a DPE slot on someone who's going to fly with us 3 to 5 hours. We're just not going to do that, right? Now, if we had a plethora of DPEs out there, I'd do it in a minute, right? Who would care? But we don't have that. So anyway, we've got another DPE that can do tests for us in a different state, but I'll discuss that once I've formalized everything. But he's a big fan of our program, and he's in one state over. Let's just say that. Okay, so there's that not in California, one state over from California, north. Oregon. So that's all I'm going to tell you. All right, let's get through these pro tips. All right, when studying for your CFI certificate, don't study the FOI or endorsements first. Now, do training on that. But when you're studying, like putting the fine points to it, do that last. Study the stuff you know first, because if you study the FOI, the endorsements, all that hard stuff, the stuff you're not really familiar with first, and then you say, I got to do aeromedical, aerodynamics, all that stuff, what's going to happen is you're going to have to redo that. You're going to have to redo the FOI, the endorsements, because there's going to be time go by. So study the stuff you know. Most of that you can put to bed pretty quickly and say, okay, I kind of know that already. If I need to touch it up, I just need to touch it up. And then you can spend the last 2 weeks before your test and really fire into the FOI and the endorsements and such. Also, our new book, it's not a new one, it's an update. Those of you who have either CFI Essentials within a year, or if you've purchased it's called Scenarios and Endorsements and Scenarios, or Scenarios and Endorsements, Red Book we call it, on our website, that's being updated. It's in formatting right now. We wrote, currently there were, I think, 26 scenarios that cover student pilots, different categories, classes, complex endorsement, everything imaginable, like the sport pilot stuff. So we added, I think, 8 or 10 new scenarios. We redid all the flowcharts. We simplified some of them. We put additional flowcharts where it was a little too complicated. There was too much on a page, but you get the answer, but it's easier to look at. I changed all of the formatting so that the lines are all crisp and dark black, and so there's a lot of work went into that. So that's going to be available here shortly. If you have it now, if you purchase it within a year, you get you'll get that sent to you. So just ask for it if you don't have it. If it's let's see what I was going to say. That's kind of it for that. So that's coming out. But anyway, that helps. Like what the problem is with that whole thing is when you start, it's like airspace. And like endorsements, you can say, I think I understand this. Go pull the regulation out. Go get the AC and go through it all. But the question is, how do you know that the answer that you got is right? How do you know that? The only way you know that is to find a CFI who does this. They look at it and say, yeah, but you forgot this, right? That's kind of how it would go. But with this regulations and scenarios and endorsements book that's in CFI Essentials, you can buy it separately. That book has the scenario, then it has a textual description of what the FARs address this, and it's got a flow chart that walks you through all the FARs. So you can test yourself, right? That saves a ton of money. We also have airspace flashcards, which do the same thing. They allow you to test your knowledge of airspace without having to sit with a CFI or someone else quizzing you, right? It'll do it for you. All right, well, enough about that. So that's what you want to do. Do the stuff you know first. Next, this is a Greg Brown thing, and it's a fantastic idea. We said it, but we didn't say it in clear enough words. He says it in very clear words. So I'm going to tell you what he says. Make 3 versions of a lesson plan. The full-blown 20-minute monster, that's for the check ride. Then make a pre-flight briefing. That's just includes the what and the how, but not the why. So that's a briefing you give, like in a 141 school. Someone's already done academics, already done a ground school. They're going to go fly, right? And they just need a briefing of what this maneuver is going to look like. 5 to 10 minutes is what that's going to be. And then make a review lesson plan, 1 to 2 minutes for someone maybe who comes in for a flight review, or it would be very informal. Basically the format of it would be, so when's the last time you did a steep turn? Do you struggle with it? How do you think you'll do today? And then you'll give a briefing based upon how they're answering that. So have 3 versions of that. All right. Now, the most intimidating factor while flying cross country, is the third point, is crosswinds. So get proficient in handling 20-knot direct crosswinds. They aren't around every day for the most part, but take advantage of them when they're there. Get really good instruction on this, because if you fly cross country, you're going to face significant crosswinds depending on where you go. It's not going to be like at Reed Hillview Airport in San Jose. We would get people through training that had never seen a crosswind. I mean, we had 6 weeks to get them through. Sometimes they never seen a crosswind. I mean, we have to finally go somewhere where we at Reed Hillview. So we had to go somewhere and use the runway that's crossing or something, so they wouldn't wreck when they finally did get a crosswind. But so if you train in certain places, there's just not a lot of crosswind. But you go to Hawaii, you go to Oklahoma City, you're going to have wind 25, 28 knots, 20 knots right across the runway, 18 knots across the runway, a lot. And if you're not ready for that, it doesn't matter where you trained. So go out and get some really good crosswind practice, right, for the specific airplane you're going to want to fly. Now, according to SAFE, Society of Aviation Flight Educators, a fair number of accidents, including training accidents, occur because the pilot's not proficient in crosswind takeoffs and landings. So do yourself a favor and get ready for that. And that'll take your comfort level a lot higher as well when you go on a cross country, or you have a student and it gets a little sideways on the crosswind, like at Palo Alto in the summertime. We'll get 15 knots at least right across the runway in the afternoon. and Opelika, right out here in Miami. And when a cold front comes through, we'll get easily 25 right across the runway. Right? If you're not ready for that, there you go. All right, well, that's the end of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I like putting it together for you. And I hope you can attend our CFI Mastery class. If you're thinking about that, remember that we only got a little bit of time for that, and that's the deal. The deal is $250 and instead of $400. And if you come in November or January, it's $400, just so you know. Okay, that's all I got to say for you, say to you. I have a lot to say for me. So there's that, and I'll see you on the next episode of Flight Training the Way I See It.